D. Obsidian Pillar is an ancient monolith hidden deep within the spine of a Trenner Mountains. Its exact location is unknown, concealed behind untamable wilds and shrouded in myth. But it was said that ages ago, before the dawn of recorded history, the very gods walked the world and the races of men and Mira were but infants in the cradle of creation. But then came the cataclysm, a maelstrom of void and flame that nearly consumed all existence. And after, the skies bled, and the stars fell silent. Good. In the twilight shadows beyond the spine of a Trenner Mountains where no map dared to reach and no traveler returned, sane stood the ancient Obsidian Pillar, a monument carved in times before time bearing the warnings of a forgotten age. It was here that the winds spoke in tongues and the skies bruised with crimson despair. And it was here, in the heart of blackened storms and forgotten sins, that the seal was broken. Vharzax, Harbinger of the hollow flame. His name had not been spoken aloud for 1,000 cycles. Being forged from primordial flame and bound by the will of the Nine. Carls. Vharzax was no mere demon. He was a celestial force undone, a fallen guardian of order, who now carried only chaos in his breath. It was here at the Obsidian Pillar that Vharzax first awoke. The earth trembled when he rose. With horns spiraling like darkened crowns and wings forged from twisted roots and scorched feathers, he emerged from the shattered depths of the void. His body bore the memory of a warrior god. Muscles sculpted by ancient wars, veined with molten power. His armor was not metal, but the calcified anguish of those who defied him, etched with screams and fates unfulfilled. And then he raised a clawed hand, and the last seal crumbled. Around him, the forest surrounding the pillar withered in a heartbeat. Creatures fled, the skies blackened, and a new age of dread was birthed. Far from the ruins, nestled within the marble halls of Elmirian Keep, the scholars and seers felt the shift. Ancient scrolls unraveled themselves. Stars blinked from the night sky. One by one, the statues of the gods cracked. Save one, the effigy of the flame warder, who had once imprisoned Vharzax. His statue wept blood. Oracle Theliera collapsed, her vision stolen by the flare of prophecy. Through her trembling voice, the court heard the foretelling. The hollow flame walks again. His shadow will silence kings, and his breath shall choke the light. Only the fireborn of Vharzax may stand against him, and even they shall burn. The prophecy sent ripples through the kingdoms. Across the lands of men and marrow, whispers of Vharzax, long dismissed as myths, surged through villages and courts alike. Warlocks delved into forbidden tomes, and hunters of the arcane began to vanish. But it was already too late. Gone in the east. Cities fell overnight. Not to armies, but to despair. Wherever Vharzax walked, madness followed. He did not need to wage war. The world wilted before him. Forests turned to ash. Oceans boiled where his wings cast shadow. And those who gazed upon him too long were twisted into hollow husks, forever chanting in a tongue not their own. But it was not only fear he inspired. Gone within the shattered realm of Vharzax, deep within the Fireforge where dragons once nested, the last of the Fireborn trained. A brotherhood of warriors imbued with the essence of flame itself. They were the only force designed to stand against Vharzax. But there were few left. Their Odir, once mightier, had been dwindled by centuries of peace and arrogance. Among them stood Kellen Vr, a half-blood touched by the ember spirits of the forge. His fire burned brightest not from pride or fury, but from grief. Vharzax had taken his sister when the demon rained darkness upon the city of Orvanful. Kellen had survived. She had not. And so Kellen trained, not for glory, but for vengeance. As Vharzax marched across the land, the Fireborn fell. Some consumed in the journey. Others fallen to doubt. But Kellen pressed on, guided by grief and fueled by righteous wrath. Finally, he stood before the burning skies. The realm where the stars had bled, and the sun no longer dared to rise. Here, upon a crag of jagged obsidian, Vharzax waited, his wings curled like thorns, his gaze patient as time. Before him, Kellen knew this was the end. There would be no more battles, no more retreats. This was the final confrontation. "You are but a spark," Vharzax said, his voice layered with centuries of sorrow and disdain. Why come to extinguish yourself?" Kellen stepped forward, flame coiling in his palm. "Because sparks ignite and then they clashed. Like gods, the sky split open. Mountains trembled. Kellen's blade sang with the soul fire of 10,000 ancestors, while Vharzax wielded ruin itself, each strike rewriting the shape of reality. But Kellen was mortal, and Vharzax was not. As the battle raged, Vharzax grew stronger with each passing moment. He reveled in the terror and despair he inspired, drawing power from the very fabric of the world as it buckled under his might. Finally, when the flame died, Kellen knelt, broken and bloodied. Vharzax raised a hand to finish him, yet hesitated. For in Kellen's chest, the ember still burned. With a final surge of strength, Kellen spoke. A single word, whispered in the old tongue, passed Kellen's lips. If the world exploded in light, from the core of the dying star, a blazing sword erupted skyward, tearing at the fabric of reality, and shattering the void that clung to the spectral flames of the Ethereum blazed forth, banishing the encroaching darkness and severing the connection between Vharzax and the void. Flame roared in defiance, but his power waned with each passing moment as the ethereal flames burned away, his connection to the dark energies that sustained him. As the light faded, Vharzax screamed, his form flickering and unstable. The Ethereum blade receded back into chaos, its celestial energy flowing back into its wielder as the connection to the void was severed. Weakened and diminished, Vharzax retreated, disappearing into the rifts of the collapsing void. His defeat was not absolute, but the threat was staved off, for now. In the aftermath, the world began to heal, the ethereal flames purifying the land and banishing the lingering darkness. Kellen stood amidst the ruins, the Ethereum blade fading from his grasp, returning to its ethereal plane. He had one, but at what cost? He looked up to see the sky slowly beginning to heal, the stars re-emerging one by one as the void receded. The world was saved, but he knew that this was only a temporary reprieve. He could feel the darkness stirring still, waiting for its champion to rise again. Then he looked down at his hands, now empty of flames, the ember spirit fading as the battle's end drained his power. He was no longer the Fireborn, nor was he merely human. He was something in between, changed by the battle and forever marked by the tragedy that drove him to it. Yet as he looked out over the dawning world, he saw hope. In the distance, he saw the first signs of life returning to the land. Small sprouts pushing through the scorched earth, a testament to the resilience of nature and the promise of renewal. He was not the Flame Warden, but he was not powerless either, and so he turned and walked away from the ruins, leaving behind the fading glow of the ethereal flames, venturing forth into the healing world, carrying the weight of his victory and the memory of his fallen sister, knowing that the fight was far from over and that the hollow flame would rise again. But until then, the world could heal. The hollow flame banished. For now.